My name is Shulamit, and I'm the creator of the MetaSounds process. Every Sunday at noon, I host a Zoom meeting for us to explore wisdom teachings and experience the healing power of MetaSounds. These meetings are made possible by generous donors. Please help this site thrive by liking and subscribing, and please join our newsletter at greatoctave.com to receive notices of our events. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. The topic today is Know Thyself. In ancient times in Greece, over the temple at Delphi, the temple of Apollo, there was an inscription, Know Thyself. This is very good. This is deep wisdom and good advice. But why is it deep wisdom and why is it good advice? Because knowing as much as you can about yourself and your motivations and so on will lead you to greater happiness in your life. It will bring meaning. It will bring more centeredness, more calm, when you realize how much you serve yourself versus how much you're serving other people's ideas. The larger impact of that, which is very, very important, because, I talk all the time about the individual responsibility and the power of the individual in this time of chaos and fright. And it always seems that what I have to offer is really kind of weak, puny against the forces that are arrayed against us. But this is not the case. If you really know yourself and your own motivations, you won't be pushed through advertisements or propaganda or whatever to fulfill other people's ideas. For example, retailers who want to sell clothing and fashion, cosmetic people who want you to spend money on keeping yourself from aging, with plastic surgery, ideas of manhood, ideas of womanhood. These are all things that we can be manipulated about and are manipulated about, in addition to the fact that we're often pushed into situations that are not comfortable for us. But the more you know about this yourself, the less you will not be as easily manipulated either into passionate responses or hostile responses or violent responses, or grow to hate yourself because you don't fit into some kind of model or ideal that has been described by others for their own purposes. It could be political purposes to manipulate your thoughts, and it could be commercial purposes, for example, or, family members who are trying to get you to do what they want. To be clear about your motivations really matters. Now, many people go into therapy, and this is very helpful in getting more clear about what you're about. But it's often the case that you can have learned a tremendous amount about yourself in therapy and have advanced incredibly, but there are certain stubborn aspects of your nature, of your responses, that are not responding as well as they should to the therapeutic process. And so it's incumbent upon us to learn how to find out what we really want. And when we apply ourselves, and there is a discipline that you can do all on your own to apply yourself to learn more and more about yourself, you become freer and calmer. Because the truth of the matter is that it's really, really hard to be a human being. Really hard. We come in naked and alone, and we die naked and alone. And in between, we get the idea that what we do has permanence, that our efforts are always rewarded in the way that we want them to be rewarded, and that we're strong and powerful in those years when we're strong and powerful. Obviously not in declining old age and not in childhood. But there are years when we are strong and powerful and can exert our presence. This is really a temporary state. And the wisdom you acquire when you look into yourself is that you get reminded that you're part of a natural cycle. And you are affected by natural courses in nature itself, in your own body, and in the cyclical nature of history and so on. So we are very affected by nature. We are not separated from nature, even though we think that we're very intelligent and should be not victimized by illness and so forth, but that's not the case. In addition to that, we have a spiritual aspect to our being, as well as a very physical aspect to our being. And right now, the culture is all about the physical aspect, about quantity. How much money you have, how much square footage you have, how much longevity you have. Everything is about quantity, how thin you are, and so forth. And the quality aspect of our life is suppressed by the society, maybe not by us, but by the society. So when we're little kids and we have a toy and it gets broken, we cry, oh, so powerfully. Maybe to an adult looking at the child, we think how trivial the loss is. But it's not trivial to a child to have a precious doll taken away. It's painful. And that pain reminds us, even when we're small, that we like to avoid that pain. And we want to climb higher out of that kind of reactive response that causes so much suffering. We want to reach for the connection that we know is there, even though we know we can't find it, right? So we have a physical nature, but we also have a spiritual nature. We have an emotional nature. And they're not always acting in concert. In fact, they're frequently not acting in concert. What the body wants may not be good for the spirit. What the emotions want may not be good for the physical, and so forth. So we can be one, we're one being, but we're frequently at war with ourselves, trying to tame one aspect or another. And as Gurdjieff said, we are not human beings trying to be spiritual. We're spiritual beings trying to figure out how to be human. So that's one part of our drama. Another very significant part of our drama is that we are a mass of contradictions. We're constructed that way. It's not a fault in you that, you're unsettled or you have, it's hard for you to acquire inner peace. We have a lot of aspects of ourselves that battle within us and argue inside of us, trying to get us to proceed on what we consider to be the correct path for our future, for our financial and physical security, but also for our emotional growth and our spiritual connection. And these, if you look at the Tree of Life, they're very nicely displayed in a format that we can understand. We have excessive judgment, but we also have unconditional love. We have visions and desires of the future, of an imagined future, which we attempt to realize, and some of us do. But we also have a part of our nature that knows we have to apply ourselves in the physical world if we are going to be successful at taking care of the body. We are also intelligent creatures who have the ability to understand and who want understanding, who seek understanding, seek meaning, seek knowledge about how the world works, seek skills. When we grow up and we go to school and we learn certain trades or certain professions or whatever, we're looking for skills. We learn about how to manipulate and organize our world. And sometimes we fall in love with that aspect of ourselves, but there's another part of us, which is the part of us that holds wisdom. And wisdom is beyond or can even cut through intelligence and knowing things. You can't, for example, always stop someone from doing something very risky or detrimental to their health and well-being, even though they're dead set on it, and you have all the rational arguments that you could possibly have on your side, and you have the support of your community and the world about what's really the correct thing to do, and yet you cannot stop it. You cannot stop that person from doing that thing that is so destructive and might actually kill them. Wisdom shows you that you have to bide your time. You have to plant a seed only when the earth is prepared to receive that seed. Otherwise, it will wash away. Wisdom has to shut up very often. And that's not just in acting in the world. Our own wisdom, which we have as one of our attributes, sits very quietly inside of us, waiting for us to wake up about something. There have been occasions in my life when I heard a voice say, "What are you doing?" I believe that was my wisdom speaking to me and trying to get me out of the hole that I was digging for myself. So all of these attributes reside in us, but they can come into conflict. There can always be difference of opinion, of course, but they come into conflict and they derail us, because if we really want to be effective, all aspects of our being have to be on the same page. That's when we're really the most effective. And when we know what we really want, as opposed to what other people are telling us we want, we become freer and happier, because we're also able to uncover meaning, not the meaning that other people told us we should pursue. And don't forget, we're also powerless. For many years of our early lives, we're completely subject to the teachings of our elders, and they can be very loving and well-intended, but very often parents want their children to do well and not to get harmed. They also want them to do things that they couldn't achieve in their lives, or they think that what they're doing is so great they would like their kid to do the same thing. I mean, there's a lot of different instances. And, those pressures are large, because they're coming from people who loved us and love us and are raising us and are tender with us and so forth. And it's hard to go beyond that. But the truth is that if you really want to uncover meaning, your meaning, not somebody else's meaning, you have to know who the hell you are. So this is a very careful, methodical process. As I said before, a lot can be accomplished through therapy, but the process that I teach is not instead of, it's in addition to, or you can also do it without, the benefit of therapy, which is to really observe yourself. Step back and observe yourself in the process of doing something that you really don't think is very healthy for you. You start out that way. Later, you can examine the things that you think are good for you. But at the beginning, you start out with things that you think are not good for you, that you do, how you step on yourself, how you don't ask when you should, how you allow people to abuse you when they shouldn't, and so on and so forth. Some activity, some thought form, some way that you are not serving yourself, and decide to look at it objectively. What do I mean by objectively? Don't analyze it. It doesn't matter that you do it because your mother stood you on your head when you were 3 months old. We're talking about the here and now. So you observe it in the here and now, and you don't say anything about it. You just say, oops, I did that again. Oh, I did that again. Look at that. I did that again. What you're doing is allowing yourself some space. You're observing yourself, and the observation itself will change the behavior. This is a well-known, established fact in science, where you can actually observe something and see it behave differently once you observe it. And, just on a simple level, if you walked in the door right now and looked at me and just, or you don't necessarily have to say anything. You could just stand there with your arms crossed staring at me, and I would get pretty fidgety. What's going on? What do they want? Why are they here? So if you keep quiet and no analysis, no judgment, because when you analyze and when you judge, you are just repeating the same story that you have told yourself in the past over and over and over again, reinforcing behavior that may have nothing to do with that. If you proceed in this calm, deliberate fashion, taking one habit of mind at a time or action at a time, you will get insight into why you're really doing it. And that insight will be freeing. It will be extremely obvious. In fact, you will be surprised that you didn't notice it before. But once you have no reason for the behavior or the thought, it goes away. So this process, I've been doing this for 30 years. This process frees you and frees you and frees you and frees you over time. Now, what stops people from looking at themselves, going inward is, well, they may not feel that it has any point. That's one reason. But the second thing is often the case that people are afraid to look at themselves. They're afraid that what they will discover will be, I don't know, terrifying, evil, or worse yet, cause them to change their lives, which is a lot of work. But on the other side is a greater degree of freedom, more free will than you think you have already, a greater degree of freedom. I'm not saying perfect, but a greater degree of freedom, and an uncovering of your particular meaning and purpose. What is it that keeps you going? What is it that motivates your life? And from the point of view of society, you become less of a puppet with people manipulating your feelings. And probably even deeper still, many people conduct their lives doing what they've been told or what is respected or what is necessary too. It could be about making a living and so on. But underneath all of that, there is a sorrow and a longing for connection and a sense of meaninglessness and hopelessness. And that can only be approached if you're willing to commit yourself to a discipline, to a meditation, to self-observation, so that you can gain greater insight and greater freedom and more joy. So it serves your personal purposes, and it serves your children's or your friends' purposes, as well as society as a whole. So, know thyself. That's the ancient Greek wisdom handed down through the centuries. So I'm going to make sounds now, and you should relax to receive. When I'm finished sounding, there'll be a few moments for you to just sit in silence and allow the sounds to wash over you and do their job. Thank you for joining me today and being part of our community. I invite you to join us every Sunday at noon Eastern Time for the full live experience. Wishing you a wonderful week, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Visit greatoctave.com for more details about these webcasts, our newsletter, donations, and more.